the almost 30 years since the game of Yu-Gi-Oh first began, there have been a lot, and I mean a lot, of different decks released. And I like to think that every last one of them is somebody's favourite. For some people, it's a deck that holds a lot of nostalgia, maybe something that they played when they were a kid. For others, it's the strategy which brought them the first kind of stint of competitive success. And then there are those who, across the span of their careers playing this game, they have built almost a legacy and a name for themselves when associated with a certain deck or a certain strategy. Regardless of how it came to be, your favorite deck is your favorite, no matter how good or bad the strategy might be. And in this video, I want to celebrate that by showcasing and telling you about my favorite deck. I'm going to show you the list that I've been working on, take it to locals, and see how we get on, maybe try and snag some wins with my favorite deck of all time. Without further ado, let's get into it. Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. As always, I hope that you are doing good and keeping very, very well. Out of all the archetypes in Yu-Gi-Oh, there is one that stands amongst the rest. At least for me, anyway. And thanks to the latest set, Chaos Origins, it just received brand new support. And I am, of course, talking about Phantom Knights. Now, I know on this channel I have been known to build and play a number of different decks, kind of master of none and all of that, but this is where it all started. I began playing the game back towards the end of 2020. Yes, I saw Halka Firebrax Link Cross combos and thought, yeah, I want me some of that. But as a lot of us did when we first started, I was playing this kind of anime style Winged Dragon of Ra deck. It wasn't until I saw, I think it was a deck profile by Team Samurai X1 where he showcased the brand new cards that came out in Phantom Rage. And I remember watching it and I just thought, I need to play this deck. Since I was a kid, I was always obsessed with anything kind of knights and fantasy and, you know, medieval castles and dungeons and all this sort of stuff. A big part of my childhood was going to visit these ancient castles and these ruins, especially with my dad. And then when I first got into the game and I saw that there was this spooky ghost medieval archetype, I knew straight out of the gate that it was one for me. PK was the deck that I took to my first ever locals. I took it to my first ever regionals. And actually in that regionals, I ended up coming in the top 8, which, you know, I had to go through some pretty high profile players at the time to achieve that record. So yes, my love for competitive Yu-Gi-Oh also comes from playing this deck. Now, almost 6 years after first picking the deck up, I was so excited to hear that it was going to be receiving some brand new support in Chaos Origins. Well, Chaos Origins is here. We have got our hands on the brand new support, so I want to showcase the list that I've been working on, take it to locals, and see how we do. But before we do any of that, I have something really exciting that I want to show you guys. So let's get into it. So yes, I am very, very pleased to say that Konami have very generously sent me this box of Battles Legend Glorious Gallery. They're helping out the channel by sponsoring what I'm going to do as a giveaway. That's right, I'm going to be giving away this box of Battles Legend to one of you guys. All you need to do is be subscribed to the channel and leave a comment under this video. In my next video, I will announce the winner. I'll sort out all the details and yeah, I will get it sent over to you. So once again, that is just be subscribed to the channel and leave a comment under this video to enter the draw. And yeah, this box could be yours. Think of all those beautiful chibi Starlight Rares just waiting with your name on it. Huge thank you once again to Konami for sending me this and helping out with the channel. I told you guys big things are on the way. Without further ado, let's move on to the main segment of this video, and that is my updated Phantom Knights deck profile. Okay, so this is the PK list that I have been playing around with recently. It's 42 cards as far as I am aware, and the deck feels really good. I actually managed to go X1 with it at locals a few weeks ago, finally breaking the X2 curse. Not entirely sure just how much merit that holds to you guys, but I don't think that's too bad, especially considering that it's a fun rogue deck. So for the starters, we are going to go with 3 copies of the Phantom Knights of Taunt Scales. Unfortunately, this guy is no longer the best starter in the deck, but we are playing another quote-unquote brick in the main deck to facilitate the 1-card combo that this card provides. You'd rather see one of your other starters if you're just going for 1-card combo, but as an extender and as a bit of a push, this card still holds up very, very well. Next, we're on some of the new cards. We have got 3 copies of the Phantom Knights of Doomed Solaret. This card is now the strongest starter in the deck.
It is a cyber dragon, special summons itself when you control no monsters on the field, and then on normal or special, it sets a Phantom Knight's trap card, which immediately doesn't sound very good because you're thinking what you're going to do with the Fogblade turn 1. But one of your new trap cards is an extender, and this card allows you to go full combo. Its Grave effect also helps the game plan of the deck in allowing you to rank up into rank 4 dark monsters. We can actually end on one of the boss monsters that the deck is designed to do. And then we've got 3 copies of the Phantom Knights of Decayed Cloak. This card is absurd. It is a starter, it is an extender. Its Grave effect doesn't really come up that often, which is a shame. That's my biggest gripe about the new cards, is the fact that their Grave effects aren't the best. I think it's because I just like triggering Torn Scales. They don't always facilitate that how you would like them to. But yes, this card is crazy. You reveal one other The Phantom Knights card in your hand. Very, very important distinction if you're planning on playing this deck between Phantom Knights and The Phantom Knights. And you can special summon it, and then on summon it adds a Phantom Knights monster from your deck. Its Grave effect is you can target an Xyz monster on your side of the field, and you can use its rank as if it was a level for an Xyz summon. It can come up, I think it's come up like once or twice before, but it's not really that relevant. The important part is that you can search on summon for a starter like Torn Scales or an extender like Silent Boots if needed. Fun fact, this card can also add itself, and that's really good when you want to Fogblade in your opponent's end phase. Summon this guy back, and then you can go chain link 1, search for another copy of itself, and get another search on your turn. The card is really, really good. Speaking of extenders, the next card we play is 3 copies of the Phantom Knights of Silent Boots. This guy is old but gold. If you control a Phantom Knights monster inside the field, just special summon it from your hand, and then its Grave effect is you can banish it and add a Phantom Knights spell or trap. Like I say, it's the best extender in the deck. I'm always, always happy to see it. And now that we have a Phantom Knight spell or trap that also acts as an extender, it's an extender that can get into an extender if need be, which does come up. And then for the one of names, we have 1 copy of the Phantom Knight's Vintage Cloak, 1 copy of Ragged Gloves, and 1 copy of Stained Greaves. Ragged Gloves is arguably your best Torn Scale send if you see it later in the combo. Ancient Cloak is pivotal to basically all of your combos, getting you either into Decayed Cloak, Torn Scales, or Boots, or anything that you need. There is an argument to play this card at 2 copies. I've gone back and forth between 1 and 2. Right now, I'm just testing 1 copy because thanks to another brand new TCG exclusive that we get in the extra deck, you can just recycle this guy over and over and over again, returning him from banished. So I'm not entirely sure right now if 2 is necessary. I think you can probably get away with just 1. And we're still on 1 copy of Stained Greaves because it makes your 1 card Torn Scales combo much, much better. And that is it for all of the main deck PK names. Fun fact, whilst we are here, a lot of the PK names are based off of different subclasses and archetypes within tabletop RPGs like Dungeons and Dragons. Examples of which being Ancient Cloak, Boots, and Torn Scales, all being based off of a rogue, a mage, and a fighter, respectively. Most of them are just typical knights. But then I also think that with Decayed Cloak, this might be like a necromancer type character. And then I have no idea what's going on in Doom Soleret. He's having a pretty rough time there in the shackles. But yeah, that's another reason why I like this deck. I'm a big fan of D&D. It's something that me and my girlfriend do together still a lot to this day. And so that's another reason why these cards have got a very soft spot in my heart. Not to get too cheesy. Next, for more consistency, I am currently playing 3 copies of Tour Guide from the Underworld. This is debatable. I've not seen many lists on Tour Guide just because it makes your lines much weaker into Fua Loss. But she is a 1-card combo. The fact that the new extra deck monster is generic just for Dark level 3s, she can facilitate that. I side her out a lot going second. It's more just something I'm testing out at the moment while I try and figure out other ways of fixing the deck's consistency issues. Because unfortunately, as much as I love it, the deck does have consistency issues. It's also an homage to PK Fire, which is the deck that I played back in 2020, and Tour Guide was the best starter in that list. So it feels wrong to play PK list without Tour Guide at the moment. Then spells and traps, I'm on 1 copy of Rota, just another starter, get you to Doom Soleret or Torn Scales, or an extender if you need. And then try and Foolish Burial. This is where the second Ancient Cloak was. This acts as a pseudo 1-card starter, where you can activate this, send Ancient Cloak gets you to Doom Soleret, and then you can combo from there. It's not quite the full end board, but it's pretty good, and if you've got something like a Boots in hand, you can get there anyway. So it's something that I'm just trying out. Lastly, for the spells, we are playing 1 copy of the Phantom Knights Rank Up Magic Requiem. This card is another brand new card. I wish it was a quick play so bad, but what this card does is that you can special summon a Phantom Knights or Xyz Dragon monster from your grave or banished, and then you mandatory have to perform a rank up for a Raid Raptor, Phantom Knights, or Xyz Dragon monster. That is a stipulation which has not yet come up, but it's one thing to consider maybe when cards like Nibiru become more and more popular. And then the other rank up magic spell that we play is the Phantom Knights Rank Up Magic Launch. This card enables some pretty stupid stuff, and we are running it to enable a very toxic card that we are currently playing in the extra deck. This card also becomes a lot better now that we have Sham Knight in the extra deck. The ability to put a rank 3 dark monster on the field and easily get it with no materials is really, really strong. You use this, rank up on top of it into any rank 4. Any guesses as to what rank 4 we are playing? And then for the rest of the engine, we've got the trap cards. We are playing 2 copies of the Phantom Knight's Fogblade Classic and 1 copy of the Phantom Knight's Wing. Both traps have got the effect engraved to reborn a Phantom Knight but banish it when it leaves the field. So during the combo, you usually want to send a Wing and a Fogblade to extend through, and then you want to end on a set second Fogblade. It has also come up in the past where I've set the Phantom Knight's Wing in order to protect some of my extra monsters from things like the Fallen, the Virtuous. If you think that your opponent is going to have something like that, that is definitely something to consider. And then the last engine trap that we play is the brand new, the Phantom Knights of Umbrage Veil. This card enables the Doom Solar 1-card combo. You special summon the Doom Solar, you set the Umbrage Veil, and then you special summon it as a level 3 monster and extend through from there. It has also got the effect that when it summons, it can turn an attack position monster on your opponent's side of the field to defense position. It sounds stupid in 2026, but that has actually come up and has saved my backside before. Annoyingly, it specifically turns an attack position monster to defense position. It does not turn a defense position monster to attack position, which is really frustrating because that would be really, really useful in this deck for OTK plays, especially with something like Arc Rebellion in the extra deck. And then its grave effect is that you can banish it and then you immediately perform an Xyz summon for a Dark Xyz monster. So that's a really good way of surviving on your opponent's turn, where you can go Fogblade, summon back a name, trigger Torn Scales, banish this, overlay into Breaksword, and then if that gets destroyed, you can get 2 more bodies on your side of the field, or you can trigger your Bardiche Pop. So it's something to consider. We're also playing Typhon in the extra deck, so you can just go Effect Engrave, summon Typhon. Broken. But that is it for the engine. And then non-engine, this deck can play a really, really strong non-engine suite. So we are playing triple copies of Mulcharmy Fuvalos, triple copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence, 3 copies of Dominus Impulse, and finally 3 copies of Dominus Spark. So yes, when I was building this deck for the first time, I thought, oh, I don't really have a list for this deck. What do I play for non-engine? And then I just got every non-engine that was in my Malice deck and slammed it in with the rest of the PK names. That is the deck. I think it's 41, 42 cards. I'm not too sure. But that is it for the main deck. Extra deck is pretty straightforward. We are playing 1 copy of Cherubini, Ebon Angel of the Burning Abyss. This is an honorary Phantom Knight card. It takes any 2 level 3s and then sends a level 3 from deck to grave for cost to increase its attack points by the attack points of the monster you send. At locals, I'm very open and say, do not interrupt this. It is not going to go very well for you. But, you know, you'd be surprised at how often this card can still catch people out. Then we are playing 1 copy of IP Masquerena. You use it as your Rainbow Piece. 1 copy of SP Little Knight. 1 copy of Dark. I think Dark's pretty good at the moment against decks like Branded. You can summon it, take your opponent's Dogma from their grave, shuffle 2 cards back, and then link into a copy of Rusty Bardiche because he is generic, just requiring 2+ Dark monsters. By now, most people know what Rusty Bardiche does, but just in case you don't, this guy, he sends a Phantom Knight's monster from deck to grave to set the Phantom Knight's spell or trap card. That includes your rank up magics, that includes your Fog Blades, and if you special summon a Dark Xyz monster to a zone he points to, he gets to target a card from the field and destroy it. That's really useful for destroying both your own cards and your opponent's cards on their turn. It's how in some of your weirder combos you can pop your own Fog Blade to keep extending through your plays. The biggest downside, because they needed to balance this card somehow, at least for, I think it came out in 2018, something like that, is that you can't use it as linked material. So we aren't playing things like Access Code or any other big guys. Our big OTK pushes are strictly down to our Xyz monsters now. Speaking of Xyz monsters, first we have the brand new, the Phantom Knights of Malevolent Scythe. This guy is so unbelievably strong for the deck. He just requires any 2 level 3 Dark monsters, and then his effect is you can detach a material to special summon a Phantom Knights monster from your deck. So he is E-Telly for PK names, which is insane. Also, when you perform an Xyz summon for an Xyz Dragon monster, that's the archetype, not a Xyz Dragon type monster, he adds a rank up spell from deck to hand. So that's how you get into your big Rebellion Dragon pushes. He's also got an effect where when he's destroyed, you can add 1 of the Phantom Knights card from your banished pile back to your hand. So that's just one thing to consider. It doesn't really come up that much, at least not for me. but very much something to consider when you're managing your resources, especially if you've got like Bardiche, Powerful, your opponent's got a Fallen and the Virtuous or something like that. Then I'm currently playing 2 copies of the Phantom Knights of Breaksword. I was on 1, but then I bumped this back up to 2 because I think this card going second is just really, really strong. Neither of the effects on this card is a hard once per turn, both the pop effect and the reborn effect. This card's the only lock in the deck. When you special summon back 2 monsters from grave, it locks you into dark monsters. Oh no. It's really good when going second to just special out a name, something like Doomsaw, set Umbrage Veil, and go straight into this guy and start popping your opponent's cards. Right now, I'm really liking 2. Maybe there's a universe where I go back to 1, but 2 has been very, very nice for me recently. And then last, for the rank 3s, we have the brand new Sham Knight, Shamanite. This card says, on summon, or when a trap card is banished, you can attach a banished trap card to this as a material, and then you can detach any number of materials from this and special summon a dark monster from grave or banished, equal to the number of materials you attach. So you're always attaching 3 from this guy, and it's how you just get all of your banished names back into rotation. When you do that, you can extend your plays. They usually allow you to summon an IP on the side, and then you can use this with the Rank of Magic launch in order to special summon Ophion. Yes, unfortunately, we are committing war crimes in this deck. This is a card that maybe you should get used to, especially when the deck receives its last leg of support in the brand new Xyz Dragon of the Heavenly Dragons or something like that. Unfortunately, the end board isn't very layered, it's just a lot of monster negates. So in order to try and help combat against some of the bigger decks like Branded, we are summoning Ophion against them as part of our mainline combo. I'm not proud of playing this card, but in the immortal words of Ryan Ruggles, what do? You play Floodgates. I probably should make room somewhere for another generic rank 4 Xyz monster, either for Breaksword plays or to rank up into against decks that Ophion's not good against, but right now, just for the local level, I've been pretty happy with just the Ophion on top of everything else. And then we play 1 copy of Raiders Knight. This guy is such a big push in the deck. You basically go in second, just want to facilitate pulling this off to allow for OTKs. He's as good as he was 6 years ago when he came out. But basically what we use this for is go in second, you go Breaksword, pop something, summon 2 back, overlay into this, and then you are going to want to summon out your big Arc Rebellion Xyz Dragon. And this is Mr. OTK. We always remember to use his effect when he's summoned. Detach 1, he gains attack equal to the combined attack of all of the other monsters on the field, negates all their effects if you have Dark Rebellion Xyz Dragon underneath it, and then you just go for game. You can consistently get this guy up to like 11,000 attack points. He is insane. Speaking of, we play Dark Rebellion Xyz Dragon. We actually get to play this package now as part of our main combo. I'm really glad that we get to, because I love this beautiful Ghost Rare. But he detaches 2 materials, targets monster in your opponent's side of the field, halve its attack, and then he gains the difference in attack. It's never really come up because you want materials underneath him ready for Dark Requiem Xyz Dragon. There's no other way to describe this card other than Appaloosa, but better. He is non-once per turn, non-once per chain, whilst he has this guy's material underneath it. Attach a material, negate the activation of a monster effect and destroy it. And then you can special summon a Dark Xyz monster from your graveyard. That effect is also not once per turn. I thought it was, but no, it isn't. So you just spam out more bodies, you can use it for IP Masquerader plays, all these crazy stuff. And there's another effect which doesn't really come up that often because you're not really trying to make him go in second. You can detach material, target monster your opponent controls, make its attack 0, and I believe he gets the attack points equal to the monster's original attack. So against big monsters, you can also potentially OTK with this guy. But this is your main end board piece that you're wanting to rely on. Unfortunately, he's very vulnerable to things like the Fallen and the Virtuous or a set Fallen of Albaz. That's also why we're playing Ophion, is to also insulate this guy against Branded decks specifically. And then of course, last card in the extra deck that we are playing is Typhon. I was on Zeus for a while, but I thought that this guy definitely doesn't conflict with things like Impulse, and also the ability for Umbrage Veil to summon this in your opponent's turn was such a cute interaction that I really wanted to pull it off with this. So yes, that is the deck. That is the list that I have been working on for the last couple of weeks. I don't pretend to say that it's perfect. The deck still has some pretty big consistency issues. Obviously, we're playing things like Tour Guide to help mitigate that. But then, yeah, that just plays into things like Fualos. So it's definitely not a solved science. I've seen on some of the Facebook groups that people are testing things like the Orcus package. I think Gearsu is a potential really good 1-card combo for the deck. That's definitely something that I'm interested in trying out eventually. But for right now, pure PK has got my heart. If you have any thoughts on the list or any recommendations of things that you think might fit in or I should add in anywhere, then please do let me know. I am all ears. But with all that being said, it is that time where we need to pack everything up, head over to locals, and ask the question, can we beat the X2 curse with Phantom Knights? Probably not.
Witness me.
So round one of locals, and we are paired up against Tony on his Angelecki Yummy strategy. We lose the dice roll, we are going second, and our hand is pretty suboptimal for trying to break whatever board Tony is about to set up. Tony opens Period Rice Map, we can't let him get to Cups of Yummy, and so we ash that with the swiftness. Unfortunately for us, he has got another Yummy name in hand in the form of Lollipo. From there he links into Snatchy, Snatchy gets into Field Spell, and he begins to Synchro Climb up into a Martial Metal Marcher. That gets into a Cupid Pitch, and he's then going to Synchro with the Cupid Pitch into a Glitch Clutch Null Gainer. With it, he can add yet another brand new card in Witness of the Ancients from deck to hand. The Witness gets summoned, he uses the effect, and here we go into Angelecki plays. Tony places a bunch of Synchros in the back row and Synchros into a Light and Dark Chaos Angel. From here, he can use the Angelecki Field Spell to summon a copy of the pawn from the extra deck and place yet another horse. The horse is going to burn us for 500 life points each every time a card sends to the graveyard, and finally he Synchros into a cool tune back to back and sets one card face down. This is going to be tricky to play through. We draw for turn and we begin with Foolish Burial. That's going to send a copy of Ancient Cloak to grave, and we immediately use its effect to try and add from deck to hand. Tony chains the back-to-back to summon back the Cupsy Yummy way, and we add a Doom Solarite from deck. We can special summon the Doom Solarite inherently, but Tony chains the Cupsy Yummy to special summon 2 from grave. We set a copy of Umbrid Veil, and on resolution, Tony activates Yummy Surprise to special summon back the Snatchy. We realise this board just isn't breakable with only 5 monster effects, and so we scoop it up for an early Game 1 loss. Game 2, we are going first, and our hand is all gas. Unfortunately, stand by phase, Tony hits us with a Mulcharm Perulia and is immediately followed by an Angelecki opening to e4. This lets Tony set up the horse, the king, and the bishop, so we are now limited to 5 monster effects, and we are being burnt for 500 every time we use one. This time, however, we can play through it, so we start with Decayed Cloak, revealing Umbridge Veil to special summon itself. We don't use its effect on summon, but we do special summon the boots from hand, and we can overlay both monsters into a copy of Breaksword. We use Breaksword's effect to destroy itself and the bishop, which is protecting the rest of the back row, and we use its effect to summon back 2 names. Next, we set the Umbridge Veil, immediately activate it, and link it and the Silent Boots into a copy of Dark Charmer. We can then link the Dark Charmer with the Decayed Cloak into SP and banish the king. Now we can activate our monster effects, and we normal summon our Torn Scales. We link off the SP and the Torn Scales into Bardiche, send Ragged Gloves from deck to grave, and set the Rank Up Magic Requiem. Next, we send Wings from deck with Ragged Gloves' effect, and that triggers our Torn Scales to summon itself back. Next, we can use Wings and Grave effect to special summon back the Decayed Cloak, whose effect we are yet to use, but when we try and use her effect, Tony does hit that with a Purge. It does get destroyed, but thankfully we still have Torn Scales to extend through the plays. We can send a Fogblade from deck to grave, and then use the Fogblade to summon back a Silent Boots. We overlay into a second copy of Breaksword, triggering the Bardiche to pop the field spell, and then we can use the Breaksword's effect to pop the horse. Bardiche isn't once per turn, so we can summon 2 from grave, making them all 4s, but Tony has a Mulcharmy Fool Us. Now here, I forget that both the monsters that I summon back are in fact level 4 and not level 5, so I pass turn with the intention of being able to play on Tony's turn using Umbrid Veil and Grave to quick Exceed into Sham Knight. As soon as I realise that that's not going to be the case, it does not go very well. Tony normal summons a Cupsy Yummy, we use our only interruption to be able to Exceed into the Dark Rebellion Exceed Dragon, use the Bardiche effect to pop the Cupsy Yummy, hope he can't play through it, but unfortunately he has got a Marshmallow in hand. So from there, he proceeds to do full Yummy combo, and yeah, we just get completely blown out from there. He manages to set up the full Yummy board with the field spell and OTK us very swiftly. We almost played through 4 or 5 hand traps, but oh well. We'll boil it down to still having to shake off a little bit of rust after not playing the deck properly for quite a while, and move on to round 2. Round 2, we are playing against Ron on Mitsurugi Rolad. We win the dice roll, we are going first, and although we have a lot of trap cards in our hand, we do have full combo with Doomed Solarite. I overlay both monsters into Malevolent Scythe, but unfortunately this does get hit by an Ash Blossom. Note to self, if Doomed Solarite is your only card in hand, summon Cherubini first. From there, we set 3 cards face down and pass over to Ron. In our end phase though, he does have a Griffo and sets up the Mind Shuffle. He goes Mind Shuffle, Sending Skull, Archfiend, and adds a Dark Magician from deck to hand. He immediately adds back the Ritual Spell from grave and slams it down to summon the Dark Magician from hand. Our set cards aren't going to do very much into this. I feel like we have to get a little bit lucky here and put him on not having any other names in hand, so we activate a Fog Blade targeting the Dark Magician. But unfortunately, he does have another name in hand, and it is a rough one. He slams down the Black Chaos. I have to get it off the field before he can use its effect, so we activate the Dominus Spark, attempting to banish it, but obviously he just bounces back to hand, summons back down the Dark Magician. He's going to follow it up with a Ragged Record of Rites, which reveals a Mitsurugi Ritual and adds a Habakiri. From there, I know it's coming, so I just scoop it up to try and save some time on the clock. Fingers crossed, game 2, we can play it a little bit better and get a much better result. Game 2, I can finally show what the deck is capable of. We begin with DK Cloak revealing Silent Boots to special summon itself from hand and adding a copy of Doom Solaret from deck. We immediately normal summon the Doom Solaret and set the Umbrage Veil. Next, we overlay both into Malevolent Scythe, use its effect to detach 1 and special summon a copy of Torn Scales from the deck. We use Torn Scales, pitching Torn Scales to send Ancient Cloak, and we activate the Umbrage Veil and link both monsters into a Cherubini. Cherubini sends Ragged Gloves for cost, targeting itself, and we can use the Ancient Cloak effect to add Stained Greaves from deck to hand. Because we banished a PK Engrave, Torn Scales triggers to summon, and on resolution, the Stained Greaves will summon itself also. We use Doom Solaret to make them both level 4, and from there we can Xyz summon into Dark Rebellion Xyz Dragon. That's going to trigger the Scythe, adding a rank up spell from deck to hand, which we immediately use to summon back the Ancient Cloak and rank up into Dark Requiem Xyz Dragon. From there we link into a Bardiche. Bardiche is going to set as a Fog Blade, sending its Silent Boots from deck to grave. And we use Ragged Gloves to send a copy of Wings. Wings is going to reborn the second copy of Torn Scales that we sent earlier, and we can overlay both of our level 3s now into Shaman Knight. Shaman Knight is going to attach a Banished Trap card, and we can detach 3 materials to summon back a level 3 Dark Monster. We summon back the Ragged Gloves for more follow-up, and now we can special summon the Boots in our hand that we have held for the entire turn. We link both monsters off into an IP Masquerena, and we use Boots effect to add a copy of the Rank Up Magic Launch. You know what's coming from here. We go Launch effect, target Shaman Knight, and we overlay into Ophion. We set 2 more cards, and we pass over to Ron. Ron's going to draw for turn, he looks at his hand and immediately concedes for game 3. Understandable. Game 3, Ron is going first and our hand is looking really good going second into Rolad. Unfortunately for Ron, he just sets 2 cards and passes it on over to us. On my turn, I begin the same way I did last game with DK Cloak revealing Silent Boots. Cloak's going to add a copy of Doom Solaret from deck to hand and we immediately normal summon it, setting an Umbrage Veil. From here we begin to link climb up, we get to a Cherubini, we get to 2 bodies on board, but Ron does hit us with a well-timed Nibiru. Thankfully we can play through it, we can go Boots effect to add from deck to hand, triggering the Torn Scales, which we are yet to activate. However, one of Ron's set cards is a Called by the Grave. That's gonna really hurt. We set the Fog Blade that we added earlier, and so long as Ron doesn't specifically draw Griffo, this game is still winnable.
Griffo? No way.
Yeah. So some things just aren't meant to be, unfortunately. We try and hold off his plays by going Fog Blade, target the Dark Magician, but he just plays through it and very easily puts lethal on board, taking round 2. Round 3, we have a great match against a new player at our locals who is playing Tellarknights. I win the dice roll, we are going first, and our hand is well and truly an indicator of the consistency issues this deck currently has. In the standby phase, our opponent activates a copy of Perulia, that is absolutely fine. They immediately follow up by a copy of Fualos, that is also fine, and we can set 2 cards and we just pass. On their turn, they draw for turn, immediately slam down a name, and we hit it with an Imperm when they attempt to add from deck to hand. Thankfully, their hand also didn't seem too great, so they just set 2 cards and hit us for some damage. They've put a body on board, so we can normal summon the Ragged Gloves, go to battle phase, and crash into his monster. And in main phase 2, we can use Ragged Gloves' effect to send an Ancient Cloak from deck to grave. On resolution, there is an Izuna jump scare as she is summoned from the hand, but when she uses her effect to send from deck to grave, we do have an Ash Blossom for that, thankfully. On resolution, we use Ancient Cloak to get Decayed Cloak from deck to hand, and we can use Decayed Cloak, revealing the rank up spell that we drew for turn, to special summon it. Unfortunately, this does get hit by an Imperm, so we pass it on over to them. The draw for turn, unfortunately, we've got 2 cards left in hand, so they can normal summon the Izuna that they drew, and they attempt to go to the battle phase. At the start of the battle phase, I go Fog Blade effect, targeting my own Decayed Cloak, but there is an Imperm in the same column as it. They hit for some big damage, and in main phase 2, they overlay into Ripper. They use Ripper's effect to add a copy of Force Release, and at this point, we check the ruling to see if Fog Blade would stay on field because it's in the Imperm column, or it is sent to grave. After doing some research, the consensus is that it does get sent to grave, so that means that in the end phase, we can use the Fog Blade effect to summon back the Decayed Cloak. Decayed is going to grab us another copy of Decayed because it can add itself, and we draw for turn into an Umbrage Veil. We normal summon the Decade because we don't want it to get negated by the Izuna, and we add a copy of Doomed Solaret. I want them to think that we don't have a way to carry on playing if they pop one of the names now. They don't fall for it, however, so we do overlay into a copy of Breaksword. On summon, they activate Force Release, summoning Werewolf, and they do not pop the Breaksword. From here, we set 2 cards because we don't want them ripped by Werewolf, and we use the Breaksword effect to pop the Werewolf. He takes a look at our hand, banishes the Doomed Solaret that we added earlier, and from here, we can combo off uncontested. We summon back 2 names, making them level 4, overlay into Dark, Rebellion Exceeds Dragon, and we can use the rank up spell that we have hard drawn to summon a Requiem, as well as summon back the Ancient Cloak. Because we have a Phantom Knight name on field, we can activate the Umbrage Veil, even though we set it this turn, and link into Cherubini. Cherubini sends a copy of Torn Scales, and from there, our opponent is top decking. We have got Requiem on board, and so they just decide to go to game 2. Game 2, this was a really funny one. As you can see, our hand going second is broken, but we do not have access to any engine. Our opponent normal summons a name, and that triggers the Lyran in hand to summon itself. A copy of Skybridge is added to hand, and on resolution, we activate Droll and Lockbird. Both monsters are overlaid into a copy of Caduceus, and he uses the Caduceus effect, which will let him special summon an Unukalhai from deck. Unukalhai. Sure. That's going to summon another name from deck to grave, but when he uses the effect of Skybridge to shuffle back the Caduceus, we do have the Ash Blossom for that. From there, they can't extend through. They set 2 cards, overlay into an N7, and pass on over to us. We draw for turn into more non-engine. So we move straight to the battle phase, and at the end of the battle phase, we activate Evenly Matched. Unfortunately, they do have the Unbreakable Exceeds trap, which does negate our Evenly Matched, so we just set 2 cards and pass it on over. To stop them from adding back any more names that could get them full combo, in the draw phase, we use Dominus Spark to banish the M7. It seemed to have paid off because they just set 1 card and pass it on over to us. We draw into an Ash Blossom, and so begins the back and forth process of them hitting us for 1800, we draw into more non-engine, we get hit for 18, we draw, until eventually we are forced to have to T-set and pass. After a couple of turns, a Case for Canine comes down. We do have the Ash Blossom. They swing it into our face-down monster, but the 1800 defense on Ghost Ogre matches that of their Tellarknight. That leaves us with a level 3 monster on board, and we finally draw into engine in the form of Doomed Solaret. We use its effect to set a copy of Umbrage Veil, which we immediately summon. Next, we link 2 of our monsters to Cherubini, use its effect to send a copy of Ragged Glove from deck to grave for cost, and we use the Ragged Gloves, which baits out an Ash Blossom. From there, we can link up into a Rusty Bardish effect, send an Ancient Cloak from deck to grave, and we set a copy of Fogblade. We move to the battle phase, hitting for a big 300 points of damage, and in main phase 2, we use Ancient Cloak's effect to attempt to add. Unfortunately, this does get hit with a set Dominus Purge. We pass it on over, and on their turn, they also draw into engine in the form of Tellarknight Signian. Thankfully, we set the Fogblade last turn, and so we do negate it, and on the following turn, we are able to out-resource them, getting into more engine, spamming the body with Phantom Knight names, until eventually we take that all-important Game 2. Round 4, we are playing against Branded. We win the dice roll, we are going first, and it's the same story that you've heard all day. We open 1 starter, it gets stopped, and so we pass on over. We managed to hold our own for a little bit, but Branded can just out-resource us, and so unfortunately, we do lose Game 1. Game 2, however, we managed to go a lot further, but we do get hit by a Droll. Droll can hurt this deck at the right time, but thankfully our hand had enough gas through it, which lets us play through pretty easily. And we can end on an end board of Requiem, IP, and Bardiche with a set Fogblade. Unfortunately, we don't manage to get to the Ophion, but that is a death sentence against Branded. It does get a little bit hairy when they hit us with the Feather Duster, and then immediately with the Lightning Storm, which completely clears our board. Thankfully, they only have access to a Branded Fusion play, so when we hit it with the Dominus Impulse, they can't really extend through it. On the follow-up, PK does what PK does best and use the graveyard as a second hand, and we are able to take it down fairly convincingly. And then in Game 3, they open with High Spirits, so this is going to be an uphill battle from the start, but we do have double Imperm in hand, which can stop not only the Wildbaz, but also the Albion when he attempts to fuse. Our opponent still sets up a pretty well-layered half board, but a top deck evenly matched for turn helps us to clear some of that up quite nicely. In main phase 2, we've got Doomed Solaret, which helps us combo up into a Bardiche, a Fogblade, and a Requiem. Our opponent does a great job of trying to break through it, but Requiem is a guard card, and with its help, we managed to take that all-important Game 3, and we round off locals with, as you could have guessed, an X2 record. So to answer the question of whether or not we can beat the dreaded X2 curse at locals with our favourite deck, well, unfortunately, the answer is no. At least not on this occasion. Like I said before, I took the deck to locals a couple of weeks ago and managed to go X1. And so I know that we can do it. I know that we can get there and maybe beat the X2 curse. As I'm sure you saw in some of the games, the deck clearly has a bit of a consistency issue. Not necessarily in terms of starters, but more in a sense of being able to play through disruption. And so that's definitely something that I want to go back to the drawing board and have a think about how we can fix that. I've been thinking a little bit about maybe trying to build a 60 card version of the deck, one that implements like the Burning Abyss monsters that we used to play, as well as things like Terratop and whatnot. Just more ways to get to Cherubini and then use the BA monsters to go full combo from there. How good that will end up being, I'm not too sure, especially because certain things might need to be cut from the extra deck in order to facilitate that, but it's definitely something that I want to try out. That, and I know that I alluded to before that the Orcust version of the deck maybe holds a little bit more merit. The two archetypes seem to be able to bridge together pretty easily now, and so it's definitely something that I want to try out, and maybe we'll see if that can fix some of the deck's ongoing issues. But that's it for this video. Fingers crossed we can get him next time. PK is definitely a deck that I'm going to stick with, at least on a local level, whilst we are outside of regional season. So if you want to see more of me playing PK at locals, trying to beat that X2 record, then please do consider subscribing to follow along with the journey, and yeah, see if we can make it happen. Also, don't forget to subscribe for a chance to enter the giveaway for the box of Battles of Legend. And huge thank you again to Konami for sending me the box and sponsoring this giveaway. It's a very, very surreal feeling to be on their radar, and yeah, just huge thanks once again. On an end note, I just want to say that this video has been really fun to make, not only playing my favorite deck, but also just kind of returning back to the more less competitive locals style videos, even though they are considerably harder to make than the major events. But taking a little bit of the pressure off and just being able to have a bit of fun at locals is definitely a refreshing feeling after Nats and then Euros. But that being said, OTS Championship tournaments across the UK and Europe have been announced, and they are in just a couple of weeks. So unfortunately, I might just need to take a small break from playing PK to grind up for those, and hopefully we can get our invite really, really early on this year. As it currently stands, I have got a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh coming up. I've got an Edison tournament coming up next weekend, which I'm really looking forward to. I've not played Edison properly in about 6 or so months at this point. We've got 2 OTS championships coming up, one weekend after the other, so we're really going to kind of put our heads down and try and do well at those. And then at the start of next month, the Gamers Lodge are hosting the UK's first Genesis regional event for the new kind of Euros qualifier playoff thing. So we are going to that. That should be really fun. I really enjoyed waking up last weekend and seeing that Phantom Knights had about 30 points taken off of its engine. So I don't want to say that me losing on stream played a part in that, but if the boot fits. Thank you so much for watching this video and all of your ongoing support. Like I say, please do consider subscribing for a chance to win the box, as well as just to see more content like this. I'm trying to hit 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and that won't happen without your guys' ongoing support. So yes, please do consider subscribing. It helps out more than you know. Also, please do let me know what your favorite deck is down in the comments below. I'm very interested to see how many Madolche or I don't know, Materia Reactor enjoyers there are out there. I'm really looking forward to making more content like this for you guys. And as always, I'll see you guys next time.